Good afternoon. Good day. It is May 27th, 2022. Online, we've got Dr. Danneberger, Dr. Gardner, Dr. Petrella, and myself, Dr. Nangle. And we are in two very different sites. Dr. Danneberger, Dr. Gardner are out visiting golf courses. Dr. Nangle and Dr. Petrella are in Ireland. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what we've seen so far in both locations. Dr. Danneberger, take it away.
Hey, Ed, thanks. Yeah, Dave and I are out on a road trip, I guess is the best way to say it. It's always fun to travel with Dave. And also we have a graduate student, Nicholas, who you'll see at field day. So we're having a good time out here. And actually, today's probably a good day because I actually saw something I haven't seen in Central Ohio, is that we've got annual bluegrass weevil damage on small areas or areas of fairways around here. And it looks like anthracnose, but this is the first time I've seen this insect damage. So here they've treated it yesterday, I believe, with Dilox. And so given the weather, it should recover here quickly. But that's something new this week that I've seen, which I haven't seen before. Dave?
All right. Yes. Morning, everybody. So I wanted to mention a couple of things based on some emails that I got this week. One, that little purple flowering weed that you're seeing that's not violet is Veronica or Speedwell. So that's a late blooming winter annual that can be kind of difficult to control. And sometimes you get better results if you use one of the herbicides that contains, 4 active ingredients or contains an ester formulation of a herbicide. That said, it's getting to that time of the year that it's pretty warm. So the other question that I got this week is, when is it too late to be spraying esters? And, some of the esters that are on the market are advertised as being safe in temperatures as high as 85 or even 90 degrees. But I would say use your best judgment when doing that. If it's a bright sunny day and it's 88 degrees and you're next to a bunch of ornamentals that could be susceptible to damage, I would maybe either shift to a different product or use that ester formulation, but maybe at a cooler time of the day, like the early part of the morning. The thing is, I've done this before, back before I was a college professor and I, worked for a living, if you want to put it that way. I sprayed esters in hot weather. And what happened was I got really good control of the red maples that were next to the weeds. And I didn't get really good control of the weeds because, all of the herbicide volatilized off. So, we are in that time of the year that it's starting to get pretty warm for the use of esters, even if it is one of the ones that say that they're safe for use in warmer temperatures, just use your best judgment. Otherwise, I see crabgrass is starting to grow a little bit more. We're starting to see some 3 to 4 leaf stage crabgrass. Still not the greatest time to try to control it. You can get good control. The problem is that more crabgrass will just come back in. So, if you are going to try to control now, maybe consider using one of the products that contains both a pre-emergence herbicide and a post-emergence herbicide, and or just wait, until the crabgrass is, done tillering, which is, usually when people attempt to control crab. Otherwise, if you have any issues with grassy weeds that you're trying to identify, make sure that you get a seed head, send me a picture, and I'll try to help you out. But I think at this time of the year, the nice thing is that a lot of those strange grasses that we saw earlier in the season are starting to just kind of blend in with everything else, now that all of the other desirable grasses are growing correctly, the way that they're supposed to at this time of year. All right, Ed, that's all I have. So I'm going to pass the phone back over to Carl.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Carl. So following up from that, Dr. Petrella is going to talk to us a little bit about fescues and fine fescues that he's been seeing in Ireland. Dr. Petrella.
Thanks. So we're in the home of fine fescues. It's my first time playing on fine fescues and ever. So it's kind of cool to see that. But we also have some research plots down in Blessington, which is south of Dublin. So this is run by Mark Sheridan. These are some different fine fescues that have been bred. So right in front of you be a pure fine fescue mowed about 4 millimeter. And I'll put down a reference so you can kind of tell. These things are beautiful. upright, and they roll well. Next to it, this is intermediate or dwarf perennial ryegrass. So this would be a great example of a perennial ryegrass can be mowed at T height, maybe even slightly lower. Then everything else you mostly see here is our mixes of fine fescues with colonial bent. Back here, then, there's large plots made for colonial bent, fine fescue, and 10% of that dwarf perennial ryegrass. Good color, good density, and then you can kind of compare it off in the background. We got our standard creeping bent grasses here. So you can really see how the creeping bent grasses stand out compared to the dominant fine fescue mixtures. Very different color, very different density. So you can see dark green, the more bluish green that you'd expect from a bent grass, and some that are already starting to decline because they are putting too much thatch on. They're too dense this time of year. So we're seeing cool things here, getting some interesting golfing. I definitely plugged a ball straight into a bunker today. Ed was laughing his ass off. I wasn't. But hey, it's good to finally play on fine fescues because my goal is hopefully we'll start seeing more of that with improved breeding lines for fine fescue putting greens and fairways in the U.S. in the next 20 years.
Couple of things to follow up on there. We were at a couple of facilities, and one of them we were talking to today, they put out herbicides 4 times in the last 10 years, I think was what they've done. Their nutrition, somewhere around between 1/3 and 4/10 of a pound per year. Links golf course, admittedly, fine fescue greens, but also putting through very high volumes of golf, and you're looking at 900 rounds a week being something that they were seeing in December and January. So when you're thinking about conditions, probably climatically closer to the Pacific Northwest, but still maintaining high concentrations of fine fescue surfaces even in that type of activity. From the standpoint of Ohio, conditions probably not been overly conducive to much in the way of disease development. And so with the warm-up that's coming next week, we'd expect to see some activity. A couple of things coming up from the standpoint of field days. The Olka field day comes up in Worcester in June. And then we also have in August, we've got the OTF event and the Olka event in Columbus. Other things to keep in mind, we will go back to weekly recordings, probably not next Friday, but the Friday after that, when we kick into full season. With that, I'd like to say thanks to everybody, and we will talk to you all soon.